and today we're going to be talking about AI agents. Just to kind of ground us into what AI agents are, which I think most folks should be aware. But they're basically autonomous systems that are designed to perform tasks and make decisions and actually take actions across a dispersed set of systems. It kind of takes RPA, which is which was something that was leveraged for many years in the industry, to kind of more of a dynamic, and we'll be talking a lot about that. Agents are transforming workflows. There are numbers like 200 million agents coming in the next 3 years that analysts have thrown. So lots of enhanced decision making, lots of machines essentially helping with doing tasks that today humans have to do. I know I use a lot of agents for my work. It's dramatically transformed how I personally work. As an example, I have an agent that every morning basically picks the best AI stories that are published out there. It then refines and summarizes that into an audio file, and then when I'm driving to work, automatically plays. So I have my personal, newscaster, and I literally put that together, within hours. So lots of ways in which agents are going to be used, and we'll be double clicking on that. So we have a great panel here, and I'd love to see if we can have. I'll kind of call out names, but I would love to see if you can briefly introduce yourself, and maybe share a story of how do you think about AI agents? The definition itself is fun, and then we'll kind of talk through some questions there after that. So I'll probably just go in top to bottom. Dileep, if you want to start, introduce yourself, that'd be awesome.
Sounds good. So thank you everyone for giving me opportunity to speak on this platform. Thank you, Yogi, for moderating this one. So my name is Dileep Pandiya. I'm a principal engineer at ZoomInfo. So I'm traditional software engineer. Recently, like last 1.5 years, I started working more towards like integration of AI in software engineering, and mainly experience in developing the sales enabled platform like GTM, B2B sales engineering, and doing this like work in sales engineering, which is mainly like how we can automate the sales efficiency and sales enablement, where we are doing a lot of automations. And recently, I have seen the trend since last 2 years. We are moving, like we are integrating we are doing a lot of things with the AI. So it's going to be a fun, like how we are integrating the AI for enabling how we can increase the efficiency, increasing the enablement for our sales agents, as well as I recently lead one of the initiative for building a co-pilot for my company. And by using that co-pilot, we are giving features to our customers to identify their buyers. So it's kind of reading all the data and giving the right insight to the sales representative to identify their potential customers. So it's going to be it's excited to see like how the AI agents going to be play a big role around the sales technology and 12 to 24 months. There are a lot happening in the sales technology landscape, and it will be exciting time coming up in the future.
Thank you, Dileep. As we talk about the use cases, I'd love you to share the really cool idea that you had when we were doing our preliminary discussion. But thanks for that introduction. Suresh, would you go next?
Yep. Hi, everyone. Again, those of you who didn't join this morning, I'm Suresh Veeragoni. I'm a solutions architect here at AWS. I have about 2 decades of experience working in software industries across various verticals. Primarily, for the first around 15 years of my career, I was mostly in this integration space, enterprise application integration, and business-to-business integration space, where we're connecting disparate systems from ERP applications with the business and operation system. And during those times, like even I think those systems are still there, like Yogi mentioned, RPA, and also like traditional workflow products, like you could see from like TIPCO to APG, or even a lot of orchestration platforms where you need to integrate the data from different systems. So that's the world I come from. I used to work for Microsoft as a BizTalk service specialist, which is basically an integration software. The reason I'm bringing that up is because those workflows are very procedural in terms of like more like, okay, connect to this data source, get this data, and then transform this way, and then make a web service call to this service, and then get the data from there, and then check if the data is like this. If more like the intelligence has to be baked in by the humans like us, by the way of like the SMEs of the industry tells us to do that. And then once that is there, then the data flows in and the decisions may happen. And then ultimately, whatever the data, wherever the data need to flow, the data used to flow, so that ultimately they collect the data and then get the insights, and all those transactions need to be done. It was amazing. We used to compare with like traditional business process management when we were building those workflow automations, right? Hey, humans used to do on paper, it used to take so long. And then now when we were doing that, we were like, oh, it transformed so much. But the cognitive process is actually outside of the software. Now with the AI agents, it's still primitive stage. It's not matured yet, in my opinion. But we started seeing a lot of capabilities where AI agents already kind of making decisions, autonomous decisions, are able to do cognitive tasks like code generation, and processing natural language, and then converting that to relevant actions with the existing systems, whether it is triggering a workflow, like Yogi mentioned, like, he gave a goal, like, I want to hear the latest AI news. And then given the goal, now it goes every day to different sources of information, or given sources of information, and then converting that to a audio format, which is also AI, right? Like, so it crawls, it combines all the sources, and then converts to audio, all AI driven. So I think to me, it's just very fascinating how quickly generative AI is changing the landscape. And day in and out, I help lots of industry vertical partners. So some of the use cases that I see are like around code generation mostly with the customers, because generally generative AI models tend to hallucinate because the way the current models are being built, because they are next token predictors. And we need to make sure that they are doing the right thing. I mean, not hallucinating, but actually getting the determinism from these systems. And that is where AI agents play a big role, where the LLMs actually using the tools that it has access, like the humans generally would use, whether it is an API or SQL code, or whatever the programming language, or especially like maybe using a desktop, or using Google Docs, etc., right? So the agent will be able to use those tools so that it can get the determinism in the overall workflow. So that's what I'm most excited for. So it's a long way road ahead for AI agents, as the models that powering these agents will become more powerful, their context length increasing, etc. So yeah, looking forward to that. You're on mute, Yogi.
Thank you, Suresh. Appreciate that. Bhanu, would you go next?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Bhanu Prakash Manjappasetty. I'm working in a long-term care insurance company. So I've been working here for past 8 years. Before that, I worked for Hewlett Packard for almost 15 years. So at Hewlett Packard, I was mainly with HP software, implementing network and system monitoring tools. So I used to go to various customer places, implement the tools, customize it based on the customer requirements. And I switched to this company like 8 years back, and the journey has been amazing. The work they do is really impactful. So currently I'm managing a couple of big initiatives. By the way, I'm a program manager, and one is on the cloud transformation, and the second one is how do we use this artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities in some of the patients, long-term care patients or insurance holders related things, right? So yeah, it's really fascinating how it can be helpful and how it can impact the life of so many millions of policy holders. So recently I have been engaged with a initiative where we risk stratify the policy holders based on the information we collect from them, right? So, and determine like what is the morbidity risk of those policy holders, like and how do we intervene, like and get them like some of the programs that or modules that we have built, right? So that we can help them to live healthier and longer in the home rather than moving into the nursing home facilities or the hospitals, right? So we make sure that based on the risk stratification or using the rule-based AI models that we have built, so we determine who are more risk on the morbidity and recommend those modules for them. It can be like emotional modules, or it can be like some simple things, right? So where and help them educate them how to like, for example, like the fall risk. So people who are at home and so they are highly prone to this kind of things. So and if they fall, like definitely they have to get admitted to the hospitals. So by risk stratifying them, identifying them, intervening, and getting them educated by all these things, we are helping these policyholders. And it's a win-win situation, both for the policyholders and for the company, and overall, even for the overall US landscape, right? So the economical landscape. So we are making sure that it will impact the economy overall. So yeah, some of the cool projects that have been engaged, and yeah, there is a lot to come. Again, it's a very initial stages in the long-term care industry, but it has moved a lot in the healthcare, but especially in the long-term care industry, it's just started, and I'm excited to be part of it, and looking forward to yeah, contribute more in this space.
Thank you, Bhanu. Ganapathi, would be great to get your introduction. You're on mute.
Yeah, this is GP here. So basically, I'm engaged in consulting for AI and cloud platforms and enterprise applications and integration. So primarily because we are in consulting, so we implement this type of projects for various customers. For example, like people who are requiring like autonomous vehicles, like we're talking about Tesla FSD, or we're talking about NVIDIA. They have built some robotics and other stuff to design the autonomous designing systems to perform various tasks. Or Amazon is a customer where they have the robots perform pretty much all of the sorting and in a huge radius of square miles, where the warehouses are completely automated in terms of how they move stuff from a bin to bin and kind of organize it and sort and then ship it or receive it from other facilities into logistics, supply chain management. So also, like, we are also talking about like customers, like for example, like Intuitive Surgical. So Intuitive Surgical is another customer where like they have several robots that they engage for performing precision medical surgeries. Also engaged by the human surgeons at the same time who are going to be overseeing. There's no room for any errors. So those are the type of customers that we work for too. And again, it depends on the industry. So each industry has different type of requirement, and then based on the requirement they have, we fulfill the requirements for the customers and how they want to operate. Because some of the customers want to operationalize their enterprise work, like how they want to, for example, even like emails or anything, they want to automate different types of workflows within the organization. And then other customers are primarily for their customers, how they would like to implement these projects for with AI agents. So we perform both type of implementations for our customers in the consulting space here. So primarily that is the way that we are engaged in. So yeah, I mean, we can get into technicalities like whether this leads to AGI or what is happening, but I'm just giving a brief introduction of the consulting space of work that we are engaging in here.
Fantastic. I think that was a fantastic introduction. Also, I'm always fascinated by use cases, and I want to double click into some of these. One thing that I want to ask the panel is the use cases that you've shared right now. For example, GP, you shared the use case of robotics. Robotics have been around a long time. They're getting smarter and smarter. Similarly, Bhanu, you talk about like a long-term insurance company actually being a injury prevention company, which is again brilliant. I want to kind of throw the and this can be to all the panelists, but specifically you two to start with. Where do you see AI agents kind of being different than what was already done in the areas that you were getting into? And it can be like either now or looking forward.
So I would say the way the AI agents, there were always AI agents to perform, to automate some of the tasks even earlier, but those are more like a automative, like automation is a completely different industry where they were more focused on automation. The AI agents is more like decision-making, not just automation of the work, but kind of lead the decisions to different spectrums of industries, like whether they're in retail, like for forecasting, how the AI agents operate and perform and come up with different type of decisions. Or we're talking about different industries, like for example, you take a look at Palantir Technologies is another company that engages for a lot of government agencies, including for FBI, the way they perform some analysis on existing data. They fetch this information from several levels and then try to combine it and then come up with some sort of a forecasting as well as diagnosis on how FBI needs to analyze the cases, basically to how to operationalize, and they even profile different types of profiles to say whether what are the symptoms or what type of characteristics. So it performs various things. AI agents. It depends on the industry, but we are pretty much covering all industries. And this is way different from what used to be the automation. Automation was just there's no decision making, it's just automation. And a lot of people, even in companies, are still automating, and that may not be a best use case for actual implementation of AI agents. AI agents is more like intelligence involved in terms of how they retrieve the information, how they pull the information, how to perform the analysis, and how to integrate several other environments with the decisions that are stemming from each environment propagating to multiple environments. So it's a completely different way of handling things here.
Yeah, that's actually very fascinating. A point I'm going to highlight as well. What I'm hearing from you is, a robot can still be a robot,
Right.
but he or she can do the work that they're doing much smarter and more work.
Right.
I like in a previous session, for example, we talked about an airline company that basically has gone from automation to like an AI-based process for deriving flight arrival and departure. And in the past, they used to basically do an automation where they would look at air traffic control information or flight status information. But now with AI agents, they're able to look at 200 plus data points that comes from weather and like even dynamic things that basically gives the same outcome, but with more accuracy because of the technology available to them. So thank you for sharing that perspective. I think that actually demystifies a lot for many folks. Bhanu, anything to add from your perspective?
Yeah, sure. I'll add some points from the again. I go back to my the work that I'm doing in the long-term care, right? So yeah, in long-term care, like the difference between the AI agents and the traditional automation systems are significant actually, particularly in their capabilities and adaptability. So for example, the traditional automation systems, right, in LTC facilities, so typically they handle like repetitive tasks with fixed workflows, maybe like scheduling, managing records, or processing payments. So these systems follow like pre-programmed instructions and are efficient for tasks which are well-defined processes, right? But where they struggle is to adapt to the unpredictable situations or like dynamic patients' needs. For instance, they may help with the inventory management or maintaining in administrative records, right? But they cannot make any decisions or adjust based on the new data or circumstances. That's where AI agents will play a very big role. Like they are designed to analyze like complex data, learn from it, and adapt their responses. So in long-term care, right, AI can assist with predictive health monitoring by analyzing the patient data from like wearable sensors, and they can predict potential health declines and offer personalized care recommendations also. And in some cases, AIs can also support care teams by identifying the patterns in the health data, assisting with the diagnosis, and or offering real-time insights that will help the caregivers make more informed decisions. So these are some of the key things. Like the key benefit of the AI agents in LTC is their ability to handle more complex tasks that require dynamic decision making, such as personalized care plans and detecting early signs of health issues. So yeah, the opportunities and the possibilities are huge here, but yeah, how do we implement them ethically? And yeah, that's very important, especially in the healthcare space.
Lovely. We'll get to ethics for sure. I want to switch over to Suresh. Suresh, I know you had a couple of, there are some use cases and customer problems you solve. It would be great to kind of hear from you. Maybe one or a couple of very exciting things that you were actually seeing being solved with agents, and also why agents.
Yeah, I just want to also extend, the previous two commenters, related to agents versus traditional automation systems.
Yeah.
Think of like a predictive maintenance system, right? Like when traditional flow of like, okay, if the temperature exceeds so and so, then this is ready for maintenance. Or even if it is healthcare system, if the patient comes with this symptom, then maybe they need to do this. So if the workflows are designed like that, so they are very rigid, and whenever the new research comes or new processes comes, the human intelligence need to be there, and then they tell the requirements to the software guy, and then the software person goes and implements as part of like, okay, add a new decision flow in that, and or add some more variables, etc., right? And in this case, like with the language models, be able to take longer and longer context. Like in this case, it can take a whole manual, the manual for the tool, or manual for the or a research paper that went into just published on PubMed or whatnot, right? So it can take all of the data into context and then act upon, and then it can be very dynamic and fluid and able to kind of interpret lots of different kinds of information, which is difficult to feed in traditional automation systems, right? It needs to be structured. It cannot like understand images natively. It cannot understand videos natively, etc. So with the language models able to understand natural language, able to understand images natively, audio natively, videos natively, without them translating to. So it's almost like we are kind of giving birth to this a system where it can see, it can hear, it can understand language, and it can take even humanly it is very difficult because we can't like remember everything in a 300-page manual, versus the model can actually take 300-page into just one prompt, and then able to kind of pinpoint like, yeah, or correlate, like it seems like this are causing this, so let's do this, right? So the model will be able to do with probably a system prompt that is given to the agent. So those are the possible ways to kind of implement AI agents into the systems so that they can be more fluid and dynamic and much faster diagnosis or prevention. Some of the things that I was doing working with verticals across healthcare and manufacturing is, as I mentioned, like these models tend to hallucinate if they are not provided with proper context. So most of the times when we ask, at least a health related question, right? The data is in the business systems or operation systems. So traditionally, if you just give unstructured data to the models, then they tend to hallucinate. So the way to improvise this is go with the deterministic system with the traditional programming, right? So the some agents like this is one agent that we helped one of the healthcare vertical company where when the user asks the question, the agent actually writes the SQL code behind, basically understand the question and writes the SQL code behind to extract the data from the electronic medical record system. And then once the record comes back, then it will respond to the user. So in this case, like the agent was able to use a tool. In this case, the tool is the SQL code execution environment. In this case, Amazon Athena. And then it was able to, the language model is used to generate the code, and the agent was able to write the code and execute the code, comprehend the results. But this is a single agent system. There could be multi-agent system where agents could be collaborating with each other, and then subdividing the task and then accumulating all the results from etc. So they could be collaborating. So those are all the systems that we are started seeing, but still in early phases, especially for multi-agent systems. But for now, at least we started seeing either given a task, like the request is routed to the right agent, whether it is a technician or whether it is a SME, a particular specific agent. So we started seeing more abstractions started coming at agent level versus like traditional language model level. So.
Thank you for that, Suresh. And I know, Dileep, you've been working on something really cool that is either today involving a lot of AI, and there's a lot of interest in expanding into AI agents. It would be fantastic if you share that story with the audience.
Yeah, sure. So if you talk about the sales technology, where the space which I've been working since last 5.5 years, so there are like a lot of moving part. If we see the study, a sales agent spend like 80% of his time doing the research, going to LinkedIn, looking at the revenue of the company, looking at the merger acquisition, looking for all the contacts, leads, everything. And only 2 hours he spent really quality time with the customers, where they can really make a connection, really make a sale, right? So this, because of this AI evolutions and everything, right? They can spend like less time on doing all this research. So everything can go to the AI. They can have like agent and everything for getting all this information out of the box. So they don't need to do all these kind of research. And if you look at the main tool which they are using nowadays, either it's a GTM tool, go-to-market tool, or they are using the CRM. CRM is everywhere. Either they will be using Salesforce, HubSpot, or any other CRM. So these CRM is having like a lot of data nowadays. It's like lead data, account data, opportunity data, and it's like structured data, unstructured data. So it's very, very complicated for them. It's very, very time consuming for them to do all this analysis. The automation was there to retrieve this data, put it in some third-party tool like Salesforce or other things to make some sense. But again, it was like kind of like data is not clean, it's not intelligent system, it's taking a lot of time. But given the AI, it's very, very convenient for them to get this data analyzed very fast. And the future which I'm looking right now we are using AI, but the future which I'm looking on top of the sales technology is going to be a lot more and more agent, where they can build the agent on top of this CRM data, build the agent on top of the company and person data, and they can kind of ask any question they want, with a multiple data point with it, like maybe like they wanted to connect with some senior management who is making a decision to buy a specific product, or they wanted to see some financial data or some like past meeting or past conversation data, how to make a sale. So this is going to be a fascinating kind of space because the sales and marketing especially is kind of like very hot area where we can see like many AI tools are coming every day. Yeah, so and that's where I see like more and more AI isn't going to come into picture. It will help all the sales agent to make like more sales and save a lot of their time, so they can make more sales, utilize their time effectively.
That's fantastic. These are such phenomenal case studies. We can just take a pause and say, what a big way we've come, literally in like a year. Last year, these were like a wishful thinking, and I think now things are actually happening. It's really dramatic. Having said that, I want to kind of say something controversial, which is that, agentic AI is kind of the new buzzword. It seems to be like the hammer for every nail. And I want to demystify that a little bit. I personally know that and strongly believe that, agent AIs can't solve many use cases. But I'd love, for the panel to have a view of tasks that are naturally aligned to like leverage a AI style architecture and solve that problem versus tasks that are the right fit for lots of existing technology that are going to continue to exist. I'd love maybe for Suresh for you to kick us off, and then I'll have others chime in.
Yeah, I do agree with that sentiment. Like when you like what is this nail kind of concept, right? Like when you look at nail, everything looks like a hammer. I don't remember exactly, but
Yeah,
yeah,
the opposite. Yeah.
the opposite. Yeah. So anyway, so I think, because we are using current generation of language models have a lot of drawbacks, right? We have to accept that we need to know the limitations of them. It is still an evolving field. AI agents are basically powered by one of these language models, right? Or one of these vision model or a speech model, etc. So the agent is only as good as the model that is acting, in the system, and also the data that it is operating in the context. So if people build the system, which is supposed to be purely deterministic, and they already know the rules, this is how it is going to be, then go with the traditional way of like building the orchestration, that you don't need to try to bring intelligence into it, right? Let's say imagine a order processing system, right? Amazon processes like millions of orders every day. You can just simply replace the whole workflow orchestration by, oh, now I'm going to just have an agent to take all the orders and then process them. We don't need to have this traditional workflow. That's not going to work because first of all, at that scale, it needs to process billions of activities per second. So the performance is paramount, and we know exactly what workflows out there, and there is so many transactions that need to happen with fraud systems, order management, supply chain, fulfillment, etc. Right? So you can't definitely, at least at this moment, simply can't replace those. But what we can do is like we can bring intelligence into these systems at different places, like maybe fraud detection, maybe a better way of like interacting with the customers, what Amazon have done with Rufus, those kind of things, right? Like where the agent is actually using the search APIs behind the scenes to translate the user questions to come back with like, okay, this is the product that you want. So there is an agent behind the scenes out there. So you can use agents to systematically improve customer experience at developer experience at each and every layer, but it can't be just a simple solution for everything. So yeah, I think.
Thank you for that. That's super insightful. Anyone in the panel want to add to that or have a perspective?
Yeah, you can.
GP, go ahead.
So basically, what I would think is the traditional rule-based systems that have been there for many years, like starting from the artificial intelligence of 1947, pretty much we have rules. So if A equal to B, execute this. If A equal to C, execute that. And if it does not meet that, then the system simply cannot provide any results. So, and we are trying to overcome that with the Bayesian rules, with the AI agents, more likely with some of the machine learning algorithms, also with the help of convolutional recurrent and gated recurrent unit type of neural network. So that gives us more room for us to provide different types of tokenizers to get different types of results based on what we can achieve here. I think the main shift is going to be a giant leap of this is going to be through reinforcement learning. Only few large language models are started to go to the reinforcement learning, where you have several number of algorithms, model-based, model-free, PPO, the policy optimization. And so these are like mostly for a few of the cases that have been implemented. For example, like we're sending a rover to Mars, or recently they sent this Clipper to Europe, the Jupiter moons. So those systems are more AI agentic because they are trained on the reinforcement learning algorithms. So the gravity is not completely known whenever it is going to land on that. And the parameters that are calculated earlier are not always going to be the same when it lands, because there's a different type of gravity, there's a different type of surface viscosity or velocity, and different types of equations that come into play when, because it's sometimes even unknown, because we are predicting this is how the atmosphere is in so and so moon, and it could be something altogether, like maybe they're saying, okay, we have some nitrogen or something else. And so the atmospheric conditions, so this is where exactly the AI agents are coming into picture, where they can actually make those decisions at a runtime environment rather than a predetermined rules that we have created. So that is only when we can actually land on this different types of landscapes of the planets, which I think is achievable more through reinforcement learning, because if there is a way for AGI in future, that is only through reinforcement learning. And that is only way also to reduce any amount of hallucinations, because those are caused due to the rule-based system. Anything that fluctuates slightly out of the rule, the model gets convoluted, cannot provide a proper answer or anything. I mean, the way the coding tools that are built, for example, there's a Cursor AI, which is an editor, pretty much builds a lot of code for people who want to write code in Python. It is Pythonic, provides a lot of Python code automatically, syntax and several statements for looping, how we loop in particular situations. Or we want to write some PyTorch. It also provides a lot of snippets of templates already pre-built, so that we can leverage some of those templates to run through the common scenarios we've encountered. But those are not going to be like a lot of people are saying, okay, so AI is going to take over, so we will not be requiring any developers, AI developers, machine learning engineers, deep learning engineers. So AI agents are going to code everything. But the problem is there's a gap between the understanding of the AI agents for building the code versus the humans interpreting, understanding the requirements, which I've seen actually in many projects. When we try to implement AI agent, we automate the code. It does not really consider all the requirements. It thinks the way it's closer to what actual requirement is, but there is a lot of variation in actual requirements that are not properly handled by the AI agent, at least in today's world, what we have. But it may be different tomorrow, that it could be so intelligent that it understands the requirements. Some of the requirements are too complex in industries. So that is where currently the AI agents are lacking in terms of getting the code generation. Code generation for some scenarios are excellent. So if we want to get some connectivity to vector databases and pull up some SQL statements, yes, they can achieve those type of extractions. But when it comes to like the output is not always the same. For example, the structured, unstructured data formats we're handling. So when we generate an output, the output is not always the same. For example, if you want to generate a JSON file is going to have different structures, different braces, curly brackets, the way it generates, each time is a different output that it's going to generate. So when it is having so much of fluctuation in the outputs, AI agents are not able to at least fulfill 100% accuracy. Meeting those requirements is what I've seen in some of the projects here.
Yeah. So I think I would summarize that as deterministic. When you need more deterministic nature of outcomes, you want to still look at traditional ways to do that. And we are looking at high level of accuracy. Again, you want to look at, like better ways to do it. On the flip side, if you're looking at, driving decisions that have this dynamic nature of decision making, either because the use case requires it, or because the standard outcomes are just not ready or right, then you kind of make that decision. So very well positioned. I'm curious, Bhanu or Dileep, if you have something quick to add. We are running a bit short on the topics that we have, but please add anything
just
quick.
on one more point here. So
Absolutely.
So cost and return of investment. So when we talk about the agentic AI or AI agents, we don't know the return of investment. So because this like new technology, we need to have like train the teams and know like which LLM model to use, and these are the models are expensive models. So in the beginning, we don't know what is the return of investment, even though it can open a new stream of business. It can have like potential significant improvement or significant revenue afterwards, but it's difficult to calculate the ROI in the beginning. Whereas if we don't use the AI agent, we know what we need to implement. We do have expertise in the team. We are running those kind of operations every day. We can calculate the return of investment in the beginning itself, and we know what is the cost going to be occur during the development.
That's a great point. Bhanu, you had a point?
Yeah, just quickly to add, right, going back to what DP and others were talking about, like, again, I keep coming back to my experience with the long-term care, right? So, AI can solve several problems like patient monitoring, those kind of things, but there are some limitations on what AI can do, right? It's like, for example, like where it requires deep empathy, so judgment or complex human interactions, for example, in caregiving, right, which often involves providing emotional support, comfort, and human connection, right? So, we can't replicate that entirely with artificial intelligence. So, and in some cases, it's not that effective in handling like ethical dilemmas. So, making decisions that are required based on understanding of the patient's individual needs, right? So, these are some of the limitations. Again, things might change in next few years, but yeah, like there is that human touch and connection that will be still missing with artificial intelligence.
That's a great point. I do think of something that I've seen recently, which is this robot in Japan, because they have a big problem of aging population and loneliness. This robot that can actually show emotions. So I think there's a lot of thinking going on as well. And I saw a video. It looked like a human was smiling. It's just very interesting. I don't know if I personally would, believe in that smile, but the stuff that's happening there. So thank you for sharing all that. Brilliant. So I'm going to switch gears, and I'd love for you to share any tool or technology in that's more related to agent and agentic AI that you like. And I think we'll just open it to the panelists. I'll probably share one that I've been, playing with and I enjoy, which is LangChain and LangGraph. I kind of played with, few others, and I think after looking at the level of still control, and it has a balance of like control and still like that reinforcement nature, that I'm finding a good balance. Me and Suresh, for example, looked at Crew AI in the past. AWS has a lot of innovation going on in this space as well. But I'm actually enjoying LangChain and LangGraph as what I've been playing with. But I'd love for anyone to kind of raise their hand and share one or more tool or technology that you like.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I would say a lot of platforms like we have the OpenAI Azure Studio, where we can build a lot of AI agents through the large language models. So we can also leverage Amazon. They have their own platform for building the AI agents. And then we have Google. They have something called Vertex AI. Supports a lot of AI agents with the Palm APIs. And they recently released, I think, Palm 2 or Palm 3. I use the earlier version of Palm. So there are a lot of platforms that are out there. And then there's even like startups that are coming up with platforms. Like, for example, there's a San Francisco-based company called Abacus. They build their own AI agentic platform. So like I even subscribed to it. I ran a few tools on it. And yeah, we can just build some lot of AI agents. So there are so many platforms that are out there coming for like SMBs and also for large scale implementations. It all depends on the infrastructure we need in terms of like the processing power and how much of parameters we want to create, what's the number of tokens we want to generate. But yeah, pretty much the most popular are Amazon, Google, and Azure.
Thank you for that. Suresh, anything to add?
Yeah, the agentic frameworks are evolving at a very rapid pace. As you mentioned, LangGraph is mostly used across lots of enterprises as one of the leading, and it kind of associated with the LangChain, etc. What I'm seeing is like it's still like no tool has one yet, but there are a bunch of tools. Like since you're asking, I like one from Microsoft, which is AutoGen, that is good, and also
Copilot.
I mean, these are the out-of-the-box co-pilots that are the product capabilities, but I'm more looking in that in terms of like agentic frameworks and libraries that are out there, which you can build with any model. For example, I'm just going to paste one from AWS, which is multi-agent orchestrator. That kind of gives the flexibility to use even any model, like whether it is OpenAI or Azure or Vertex or whatnot. Then you can use any model, and then it can maintain context between conversations, etc. Another one is like, we played with Crew AI, it works to some extent, but it's still not there yet. So I'm kind of keeping a tab on a lot of AI agent frameworks. It's still an evolving field. Bedrock agents is one which is used by a lot of enterprises, especially for automating tasks. By way of making the AI agent to call the underneath the API and then get the response back, etc. But yeah, my one of my recent favorite one is the one that I just pasted here because it gives lots of flexibility. It is not like truly like multi agent orchestration, but like different agents will be there, and then you can kind of route, and then each agent could be powered by its own LLM, or even it can be powered by a traditional ML model as well, or you could write your own custom. So the flexibility that this agent framework gives is extraordinary. So that's why I like this one.
So the same thing I was talking about the Abacus earlier. So Abacus we can call like Meta Llama, or we can call Gemini, we can call GPT, we can call pretty much route LLM. Also, they built a separate LLM on their own to consume. So it gives a list of like almost like a whole tons and tons of agents that we can customize to create it. And it's just a startup company. They have Abacus, and so.
Awesome. So we're going to switch gears and talk about another very interesting buzzword, which is AGI. I'm because you kind of hear these buzzwords quite out there. I think we've kind of demystified AI agents. I'd love to do some demystification on are AI agents related to AGI? Is there some sort of a connection? Do they differ? What would happen in the future? Maybe I'd love for Suresh to start, and then folks can add to that.
Yeah, so by definition, we heard a lot about what AI agency is, which is basically a software system powered by language models or any kind of vision model, etc. And it's more about autonomous taking actions in the real world powered by an LLM, right? So which is a very narrow focus of like this generic term AGI. AGI is not necessarily artificial general intelligence, which is like human parity intelligence, where the model is able to self-learn and then interact with the system, interact with the world, etc., through its sensors, etc. So it's a more of an abstract concept than a software system like AI agent. So AI agents is very specific automation, autonomous taking actions, ultimately powered by a language model. But when if a language model itself is when it is hosted and as in the form of API are continuously running, and that has real world understanding. I mean, right now, no one model have like real world model understanding. They are next token predictors based on the data that they have been trained. I mean, their mathematical reasoning or those kind of things are like very poor, right, at this stage with the current architectures. So we are not there yet. So that is the goal, like when OpenAI and a bunch of companies are having to build systems like which has this general intelligence capability where they can understand the world and then ability to self-learn and improvise. When that happens, I think the world will be, utopia, the Black Mirror episodes, everything will be real. But yeah.
Thank you for that. Dileep, I know you have a perspective there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Suresh said. I mean, so I remember a movie, Iron Man. So there was like a AI agent. It's like a artificial AI. Its name was Jarvis, and I think the AGI is going to be equivalent to the Jarvis. Jarvis can like it's a AI agent for Iron Man, and it can do anything. It can read the images, it can create the videos, it can take all the decision for the Iron Man suit. So
Brilliant. Yeah. So we are.
Yeah, there are a lot of books have been written. Like, for example, somebody like Ray Kurzweil said, like, we're going to have a singularity, the AGI within by 2030 or even earlier. And so, I mean, then the COVID came in and it actually shifted the whole landscape of the AGI goals that people had for years. The labs also could not achieve. But primarily, before getting to the AGI, even the AI agent is no different than a human. So AI agent makes the same mistakes as human does in terms of interpreting the requirements and producing the quality code and results. So if they can even get around the point where AI can produce a 100% accurate result for any requirements, whether it's forecasting or it's a decision or intelligent auto-based or navigation of autonomous vehicles, or like even Waymo from Google also is conducting the similar to Tesla FSD systems here. So that if how long this is going to take to get to the point where the AI agents are going to produce 100% accuracy in their results. So then they can think about consciousness or some other types of advancements in terms of how they can provide some additional context to the consciousness and everything else. But right now, the challenge is that AI agent is no superhuman the way people are created, saying AGI like super intelligent AI. They are basically not able to provide the regular results in 100% accuracy. So there are going to be bugs even in AI agents, just like humans. So I don't think AI agents even overcome those problems even in future.
Fantastic. This is brilliant. So what I'd like to do is we have around 3 minutes left. I'd like to go around the table and give you 30 seconds, in which I'd love you to share with the audience one learning or takeaway, learning that you've had, or a takeaway that the audience can take. I mean, I can start real quick in 10 seconds. My big takeaway from my learning is go pick a tool and actually try AI agents. It's very quick to try, and you can get started very rapidly. At least initially, I see it, a lot of this hesitation on, oh, it looks like a really big, complex, unmature technology, but if it gets started, it's really quick to start with. But then the complexity really comes in the outcomes, and that's why a lot of results are, a lot of the outcomes today are in early stage because of the maturity of the tools. Bhanu, we'll start with you. 30 seconds.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my main learning in the past year or so is like how much AI can help with all this healthcare related things, right? And again, going back to like how, and it's very important. Like more we get from AI, we also need to talk about how ethical it is and how much AI can do and what is the limitation. So I have been learning a lot working in this healthcare industry. So where the robot can do only so much that humans can do, right? So, but there is always something the human touch that would be required to which cannot be replaced. So that's my biggest learning with working in these technologies. Yeah.
Fantastic. Dileep?
Yeah, from my side, I mean, I echo whatever you said, Yogi. So, I mean, there are many agent is already built up. There are many websites there. You can go ahead, you can pick up any tool. You can make it like your research assistant. You can make it like your code assistant for your day-to-day work. You can use that agent to leverage and automate your own stuff. So whenever identify the task, wherever you are doing a repetitive task, you can go find an agent or you can build your own as well. So that's what at the personal front. At a work side, I mean, I can see like we are processing a lot of large data with the help of AI, and going forward, we are going to have like an agent on top of those process data. So it's going to be much more faster. Instead of going to multiple places, we can get all the information at one place.
Brilliant. Thank you. GP, 30 seconds.
But what I would think is the agents to be, they need to move and advance into reinforcement learning platforms. That is where there is some room for reducing the errors and increasing the higher accurate outcomes, which also will eliminate the hallucination. The biggest problem right now with hallucination is because the models get convoluted when they try to go through some dynamic scenarios as opposed to the rule-based scenarios. So that is when more things can happen. But right, so try a few tools. Absolutely, totally echo the same message that was given earlier. So yeah, just try out different platforms and see, scale up again. Like start with something simpler and then scale up to go for some larger requirements.
Thank you, GP. And Suresh, we'll wrap up with you.
Yeah. One thing I would say is that last 2 years has been super exciting for me within the AI field since the inception of language models become mainstream, right? It's been there since 2014-15 timeframe. But what I'm seeing is that this is a very fast moving field that we have ever seen ever, right? It is rapidly changing. If one thinks that, oh, this can't be possible with AI agents, maybe wait for a day or two, right? It can be possible. So with advancements coming from academic side and in the industry tech leaders and also open source community, like working all together, there is not a single day goes by a new breakthrough comes from a language model, or a new language model gets released, new architectures get released, context lengths get increased. So whatever the drawbacks that we are seeing, like in terms of hallucinations, there could be a product or solution like Bedrock guardrails or automated reasoning, etc. Like symbolic AI is coming into picture, etc. Right? So you could see like there is a lot of money is being thrown into the field. There is a lot of problems are getting either solved through architectural changes or model changes or even solutions that companies are building. So if one is not building, like you mentioned, then it's I can't even comprehend, like they could easily get disrupted. There was a recent study published by one of the venture capitalist firm that around like 50% of the startups are like can disrupt the incumbents, right? So I don't quote me on the number, but it's around double digit numbers, right? So the point being, like don't go by the buzzwords like AI agents or AGI, etc. Go build and see what is out of possible and how much productivity gains, how much revenue that you could bring. So work always backwards from like what is the value that you could extract, what is the value that you could provide to the customers, and how much money that you could save, and then and you could do that value, a million customers or billion customers, and that much revenue company that you could have. So I would go with that, and AI is a perfect field to revolutionize most of the fields. Again, don't go by like try to look for a hammer because everything looks like a nail. So that, not that way, but basically, the technology has lots of potential. Try to look for a solution which you can solve.
Thank you for that, Suresh, and thank you to the panel. This has been truly inspiring and motivational for me as well. The amount of coverage we had in the topics, from the use cases to future-looking problems and the real-life problems you're solving today, is truly inspiring. So I think with that, we'll wrap up the session.